Where is that?
And I know Sarah, I think Sarah or I know that Muhammad, that Muhammad, sorry, I know the Muhammad attend because he
Yeah.
attend because of family issue.
Yeah,
Are
family.
you going to read his presentation or something?
Would you like to? Patient?
Right.
I don't know, it depends on the time.
Let's
So
see how,
we-
let's see how it goes. If we have
Okay.
time.
If we have time, maybe if I consider.
Yeah, I would
Alright.
think that probably would be good. I know his
Okay.
situation, and I understand he would appreciate it if we could
Yeah.
share his information. Do we have everybody here?
No.
Rahim Subedi is here. Welcome. Good to see you. Good, great to, I'm glad you made it. Yeah, we're just gonna keep moving. Panel 2 and have lunch together. And yeah.
We might not
That's fine.
be when, the. So. It's around campus. Thank you so much for the
Yeah,
invitation.
it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we hope everything goes well with the rest of
It's
the.
okay so far. Yeah,
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks. All right. Thanks. That's great. Yeah. Oh, good, good. Yeah, good. Now you change roles. Rahim, well, is it Asma? But Asma, you're presenting for your group. Okay, you and Rahim. Yeah, Rashid, good. Talking about Tarek's here, and then Muhammad might be first. Okay, I think we're ready.
Yeah. Morning once again, and I hope you're enjoying your stay with us. And just let's bear with us a little bit, couscous situation at the end. Yeah. So the theme of this panel is navigating change and global impact, perspectives on international mobility and higher education development. We will be having the first one is presented by Hajar. Yes, Hajar. Sorry. So the title of our paper is Eco-Feminist Pedagogy and the Internationalization of Higher Education, Addressing Challenges, Opportunities, and Intersections of Policy, Diplomacy, Change. Let me just introduce Hajar. She is a high school teacher of English. She is also a third-year doctoral candidate at City Laboratory at the University of Mohammed I in Shabab. She is interested in eco-feminism, eco-pedagogy, career cultural studies, and Arabs. So the floor is yours. Let me just remind you that you have 15 minutes.
Thank you. Noted. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Let me start by saying that in today's globalized world, the significance of the internationalization of higher education form alliances across various cultural and linguistic settings, and the need to address the problems of poverty are only few of the problems that arise as far as this process. So the question that naturally arises is, are we truly equipping our students with the knowledge and skill to navigate these challenges? And how can we not only embrace, but also promote a deep understanding of social and environmental justice? Of my presentation and my paper is eco-feminism and the internationalization of higher education and intersections of policy, diplomacy, and social change. As convention states, let me start with state outline of my presentation and the parts that this presentation. Brief introduction, and then move on to the literature review and theoretical framework. I will discuss the findings and I will end with a conclusion. So, as far as the background of the education concern, as I have previously mentioned, the internationalization of higher education has gained enormous and high significance, but it also needs to address a lot of challenges and problems. The systems are closely linked to the internalization of higher education and are, as far as I'm concerned, they might suggest some of the solutions. Promotes cross-border knowledge and ideas exchange, fosters global citizenship, and advances sustainable development agenda in general. So, in order to explore how ecofeminist pedagogy can address some of these challenges and opportunities, the following have been formulated. One is what might be done by of higher education. Feminist pedagogy contribute to promoting sustainable development within of higher education. Thus, ecofeminist pedagogy empower marginalized communities within the context of internationalizing higher education. The aforementioned questions, or the research questions, the following hypotheses. First one is that incorporating ecofeminist pedagogy not only promotes sustainable development, also fosters ecological literacy, encourages on gender dimensions of environmental issues, and empowers students to engage practices. The second hypothesis is students in higher education by promoting critical understanding, encouraging students to embrace diverse perspectives, and empower to address global cooperatively. Third hypothesis is that the integration of challenging patriarchal norms, amplifying the voices of marginalized communities. Let's start with the literature review. You've been hearing going on and on about ecofeminism, and you're probably wondering. So, ecofeminism in general is the social movement that regards that the interconnectedness between the exploitation of and the exploitation of nature are conceptually intertwined. So as far as ecofeminists are concerned, in order to promote a sustainable pathological isms of dominations, as they label them, need to be condemned. What are these pathological isms of dominations, or what are these sexual layers of oppression? Racism, classism, all of these conceptual works that are contributing to wide in social hierarchies and between different individuals within society needs to be dismantled. So in the context of the higher, and especially in the context of the internationalization of higher education, gender and other dimensions of identity within understandings of sustainability. Also, ecofeminism reads the recognition, of the interconnectedness between gender, the environment, and social in aligned with the goals of foundation, which seek to promote global citizenship and cross-cultural understandings. So, As I have previously mentioned, the internationalization process in higher education presents several challenges and opportunities. As universities endeavor to enlarge their global reach, they face multiple difficulties related to policy frameworks, power dynamics, and cultural differences. Nonetheless, this process can also provide significant chances for advancing cross-cultural understanding, collaboration, and knowledge exchange on a global scale. Following are some of the issues and possibilities that occur during the internationalization process and that can be examined from an equal feminist perspective. This one is overcoming gender bias. Internationalization stands as a pivotal objective in higher education, playing a crucial role in facilitating knowledge exchange and driving the process forward. However, the presentation of female academics remain disproportionately low within the internationalization of higher education. Given the significance of Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which emphasizes the relevance of gender equality as a fundamental aspect of sustainable development, it is undisputed that the additional encouragement should be offered to female faculty members in their participation process of higher education. And in this regard, eco-feminist pedagogy can be exceptionally rewarding. Also, there is the challenge of cultural sensitivity. It's widely recognized that cultural aptitude, it can be very difficult to give students and teachers the thorough training and assistance so the increasing number of intercultural encounters opportunities for cross-cultural understanding, but it also requires standards, biases, and stereotypes. The third challenge, is inclusiveness and equity. One significant change has been a shift away from achieving outcomes from a global and international viewpoint that are inclusive of all people towards serving the interests of students and instructors. This has significantly contributed to a lack of inclusivity and equity in the internationalization process. The last challenge is environmental degradation. The internationalization of higher education can inadvertently contribute to environmental degradation through increased travel, resource consumption, and carbon emissions. The climate example of the social consequences resulting from global mobility patterns, particularly in relation to extensive air travel. So when we want to promote the of higher education as a that it leaves, and we need to address it from a sustainable mindset. Discuss some of the findings and see whether the hypotheses have been confirmed or not. So the influence of patriarchal culture, it is crucial to adopt that acknowledges this reality. So the paper that I have of the findings and the fact that these are some of the let's say the steps that we need to do in order to promote sustainability as a practice in the context of the internationalization of higher education. And incorporating intersectional perspectives into internationalization efforts Universities can foster inclusive and equitable practices that challenge systemic inequalities. Economics pedagogy emphasizes empathy and care for both. Pedagogy emphasizes activism and advocacy as integral components of education. Yes. How can we implement eco-feminist pedagogy? If we're tackling and we're underscoring its high significance and important process, we can do it through curriculum development. She has tried to put emphasis on the curriculum and the fact that it should encompass and include a lot of set of skills are to direct and orient international students into desired actions and sustainable practices. Also, experiential learning, interdisciplinary collaboration, campus optimizations, and faculty development and training. Last but not least, I would like to conclude my presentation with a quote that whatever education, a university or institute of higher education benchmarking given the vastness and diversity we live in today. And as I have previously mentioned, eco-feminist pedagogy serves as a transformative approach in the internationalization of higher education specifically and in higher education in general, by addressing the challenges and opportunities of the intersection of policy, diplomacy, and social, offers a holistic framework that acknowledges gender, ecology, and social justice through its emphasis on intersectionality, empathy, care, and activism. So together, I invite you all to embrace this paradigm to shape a future where education becomes a catalyst for positive global transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hajara, from eco-feminist pedagogy and to develop economic development with Imam Asma. The title of her paper is exploring the impact of the higher education system on economic development, a study of competency, exploitation, and exploration. It is a joint paper along with Sabir Ibrahim. We just introduced Asma Mehmama. She is a PhD or lecture candidate at Faculty of Economics, Hassan II in Casablanca. And Ibrahim Sabiri is as well a lecture student at Faculty of Economics, Hassan II in Casablanca. And they are both
Actually, I just
adjunct
did some
professors
notes,
and
so I would
researchers.
love to use my laptop.
Would you like to read it from there and have somebody advance the slides?
Just a minute.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so, but we have the only issue. Screen sharing and stuff with location and everything. Anyway, so let's see.
Actually, I have another solution. We can put it here, so someone can just like switch between slides and put my laptop here. And we keep the same presentation.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you can advance the slide. This was one.
Thank you.
Hey, morning. University, professor, PhD students. Thank you so much for making me feel so much welcome today, this morning, especially at the Akhawain University. I wanted to come here like many years ago, but obviously today is the day. So thank you so much for the hospitality that you show me and my colleague that he cannot be here, Ibrahim Sabiri. So let's start our subjects. Let's imagine a little bit an individual X that lives in or works in country A. They have some knowledge and skills that can generate a substantial income. This individual decides to change their residence and live in another country that we call B, like Denmark maybe. I would love to live there one day. However, in this new country, they are enabled to adapt their knowledge and skills to the new tasks and rules, responsibility they receive. This prompts them to embark on a learning process to better adapt. This abstract story reflects a long history of humanity's evolution on Earth. Since each time human beings have learned by moving from one place to another, collecting unification of knowledge and skills manifested through an international education system. Internationalization of higher education has provided students with universal skills and knowledge, but not necessarily ones that are economically significant. This has prompted us to analyze the question of learning and its relationship with economic development within the framework of generalist and specialist, as we will see later on that each economic phase requires the strong presence of a specific profile. For our problematic, how can the internationalization of higher education within the generalist, specialist dilemma serve as catalyst for economic development? So we will see together an introduction about internationalization of higher education, research hypothesis, methodology, results, and discussion. According to 1994, the internationalization of higher education refers to the deliberate efforts made by institutions to incorporate international and intercultural elements into their teaching, research, and service activities. It can also be defined as a strategic approach aimed at preparing students with the knowledge and skills needed to thrive in the global economic, technological, political, and social landscape. So we will start by global and cross-border knowledge transfer through various mediums such as books, articles, online platform, particularly with the emergence of the internet. Second, we're talking much more about including professors, students, administrative staff. Third, we're talking about international cooperation and communication, such as collaboration, research projects between universities. 4, international education and research initiative. 5, international standardization and similarities such as certification and like framework. And the last one, we're talking about including university ranking and international assessment of quality. For the hypothesis, and in order to better understand what I'm talking today, and to understand as well our research, we focus on the case of engineer, analyzing their academic and professional backgrounds. Engineer programs are often like characterized by unification of knowledge and skills. Therefore, our hypotheses are presented in the following format. The first one, okay, just like we delayed this second. Okay, the first one, engineers who have received generalist training are more likely to adapt to international environments. Just please do not focus with the rest. Second one, the nature of the training strongly impacts the graduation ability to meet job recruitment in the international market. When we talk about much more, when you have that offer description to be accepted for an offer or position. So for the methodology, we have like 1,750 laureates. We just like send them a questionnaire. We use 2 methods, the computer-assisted personal interviewing and the computer-assisted web interviews. And of course, we use SPSS for the data analysis. So as a result, we found that like 53% are like male, for sex female, for the age under 23, like 35%, between 23 and 24, like there is 32%, more than 24, it's like 33%. For the experience, we have less than 2 years, between 2 and 5, we found like 32. More than 5, we find like 35%. For the program, which is like the most important one, general system, we have like 50%, and specialist system like 49%. So for the results, the distinction between specialist laureates and generalists, by employing the non-pragmatic HED test, we observed a statistically significant relationship between the natural of the program undertaken during the graduate's training and their cognitive abilities to assimilate new knowledge outside their area of expertise. Graduates who underwent a general program demonstrate a great capability to assimilate new knowledge and compared to those who went through specialized systems. Furthermore, regarding the capacity to assimilate deep knowledge in the field of expertise, we observe a statistically significant relationship between the natural of the program undertaken during the graduation's training and their cognitive abilities to assimilate deep knowledge in their respective fields. Indeed, graduated who receive specialized training demonstrate a great capability to assimilate deep knowledge in their area of expertise. Okay, for the integration into the international job market, we find in terms of the neural network of our model, we observe that it relies on 6 input models that we have utilized to predict our dependent variable. L1, it's age of the graduate upon completing their education program. L2, it's gender of the graduate. 3, number of years in the national and or international job markets. P1, natural of the program impart to the graduate. 2, completion of international during the training. And the last one, P3, distribution of training between theory and practice. Regarding the integration into the international job market, the figure on the right ranks the explanatory factors impacting integration into the international job market. It's L1. We notice that the natural of the program P1, it's like P1, represent the most significant critical explaining the dependence variable 0.89, followed by the internship undertaken by the graduating during their training P2, with a degree of importance of 0.043. Furthermore, the component of the program determine the dependence variable with a degree of importance of 0.032. So we can see the difference between all the variable, like we starting just like starting from like L1 to P3 and the difference between all of them. The one in blue, this is a different variable. And we have developed a matrix called, a matrix called Generalist Expert Specialist Learned, GESL, to classify the degree of skills and knowledge each professor goes through for phases in their professional activity. But what I mean by the first one, this is a professional with basic knowledge and simple skills in a specific field. They often represent the stature of students during their early academic career, like when we can hear just like he's like a junior without experience. So he's in a phase that learning and getting some skills. This is the first phase. Then the second, what we call generalist. This is a professional with broad knowledge, either in a specific discipline or across multiple disciplines, while their skills are often general in specific area or require specific expertise. The third one, who is the specialist, this is a professional with strong skills in a specific specialization and basic knowledge in the discipline field. The last one, when he become an expert, we're talking about the same individual in the beginning. This is a professional who has achieved a balance between their level of knowledge acquired in the discipline field and the range of skills it utilizes to handle all situations in the same position. Like example. Okay, we can see that there is two schema, the generalist specialist. The first one, the end model describes the trajectory of professionals who start with the generalization before specialization. You can see like from, there's no like, it's supposed to get.
They are not the same.
Okay.
This is a newer version. So,
What we can do.
You have 2
That's
minutes to
fine.
go.
Okay.
2 minutes.
So, okay. Like the first one, like in red, we can like, it starts from learner, generalist, specialist, expert. The second one, just like next blue, it's getting from learner, specialist, generalist, expert. So the end model describes the trajectory of professional who start with, like I said, with a very generalization before specialization, such as in the case of doctors. On the other hand, the S model in blue describes the trajectory of professionals who specialize before generalizing, such as in the case of engineers. This is empty, so maybe you need to work a little bit your imagination. Actually, this is the most important one. Okay, we have like 2 phases. I will try to. The first one, dominant profiles. In the last line, then the economic phase. Dominant profiles, we find learning, general specialists, and experts. For the economic phase, we find like start, economic take-off, economic maturity. We're talking about like starting from weak skills and knowledge to strong skills and knowledge. So we start from starting as a beginner to economic take-off to economic maturity. And for dominant profile, we're talking much more about learning, generalist, or specialist. It depends on the like what he's gonna choose, to experts. So the diagram above sheds light on the economic phases and the dominant profiles in each phase. We go to our limits, which like 3 limits. The first one, that we have developed our results in only one domain, named computer engineering. Like I said, we just like working with engineers. Second one, we have neglected the impact of new technology, such as the contribution at artificial intelligence. The third one, we have overlooked some factors that impact the nature of profiles, such as attitude and psychological context. And here we go. So, it's 19. Thank you, guys. So we start from complexity of the global environment to development of knowledge and skills to setting up a specific education system. So I can say that one idea to remember, a single specialty is not enough. And in conclusion, our study highlights the significance of multidisciplinary training programs for computer engineering in the global job markets. These programs foster a balance between technical, expert, and soft skills, while specializing training offers mastery in specific domain, like génie civil, or when I'm talking about IT, he's just like a software engineer, or when I'm saying like he's just a specific, he has like a specific doctorate, he's like he has like specializations domain. But when I'm talking like she is like HR manager, it's general domain, which englobe recruitment, administration, a lot of things. So the other, so work is in focus and contact. Just 3 seconds.
All right,
To say
go
things. Okay. The synergy between specialists and generalists presents an opportunity for a robust and innovative economic model. However, our studies limitation include the need for security regarding this transformation of results to other domains, the oversight of emerging technology impact on skills development and the limits. So thank you so much. And if you need any other details, I guess maybe we can
Yeah,
for the article as well.
yeah, thank you. Let's move directly to Rashid, yeah. This paper is entitled The Internationalization of Higher Education and the Intersection of Life and Critical Thinking. Rashid is a teacher of English in Casablanca. He is also a doctoral candidate in applied linguistics at the Profile University. Slowly, yours, Mr. Rashid.
So good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for this initiative and also for their professionalism in general. So my presentation is entitled The Internationalization of Higher Education, Navigating the Intersections of Climate Advocacy, Social Change, and Students' Critical Thinking Skills in general. As I believe that the university is the place of science, is the place of social changes and shifts in general. It is the place where social change comes from in general. This paper is based on a semi-structured questionnaire in which I investigated and I asked some questions to university professors and teachers in general in middle schools and high schools of English, and also university students from the Department of English. And my questions were based on smart universities and also the importance of internationalizing education in general. And in so doing, I asked as a part of the questionnaire, the positive and the negative aspects of internationalization as it entails some cultural shock and also kind of intercultural misunderstanding. And also some people believe that the call for internationalization of higher education just a kind of faculty prestige. As a plan or the table of contents of my presentation, I'm going to start with a brief introduction, literature review, 3 research questions, methodology, and I'm going to share with you the questions I asked in the questionnaire, and then finalize my presentation with a conclusion and references. So internationalization of higher education has become a significant reality in today's society. Policymakers, educators, the educational systems in general opt for internationalizing the higher education to deal with climate change, environmental problems that also go hand in hand with the process of globalization. Internationalization is a process of integrating an international and also intercultural dimension into the teaching and the research service functions of the institution according to NATE 1994. In the Moroccan context, many rural areas suffer from many difficulties that hinder students' ability of movements, transport, poverty, unemployment, poor living conditions, as well as marginalization. And as mentioned before, there are many types of marginalized people and marginalized students that can be kind of marginalized dialects, languages, cultural aspects, and so on. Those intersections with internationalization of higher education as a remedy to those difficulties that the conference title is based on as environmental problems, social problems, or social change are also tackled in the strategic vision of the Moroccan education system 2015-2030 of reform for education in the Morocco that is based on quality, equity, quality of education to develop an inclusive and cohesive society. There are various requirements and driving forces for internationalization for Moroccan graduate students to reflect the needs of globalization that makes the world a small image. And internationalization is a way or another for a process of globalization where people are open to different cultures, languages, dialects, religions, and so on and so forth. That is, higher education has to equip students with academic and constructive knowledge to understand international and intercultural skills and attitudes. To this end, the use of new information and communication technologies in the delivery of education and the involvement of private actors in this mean that national and the role of national governments in education become blurred. These reasons demonstrate the fact that higher education has now become a real part of the globalization process in general. And here I'm going to just talk about English language, English proficiency. And according to the strategic vision of education, that encourages languages, because language is a powerful tool. Language is the key, I think, of especially English, of international universities in general. And Al-Akhawain is a university that is operated entirely in English, along with some few universities, private universities in Rabat and also in Casablanca and some part or in Morocco. The vision of insisting of English, I think, will start next year by or from the middle school, first year middle school. And thank you very much. So due to time constraints, I'm going to move directly to, so here I have three main questions of the paper Do smart universities and international higher education reduce marginalized communities, issues and uplift students' employability in Morocco? And how can English higher education be used to address global challenges and promote social change? How can internationalization of higher education foster a culture of climate advocacy, inclusivity, or equity, and ensure that all students have access to the same opportunities and resources and the free access to public universities in general? So as I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, that the researcher employed a semi-structured questionnaire. And here I have the participants of my research. 34% were female participants and 65.6% were male teachers and professors. Here I have some questions of the questionnaire. Free access to Moroccan universities enhances equity and quality of higher education. Internationalizing the educational curriculum develops students' global understanding and awareness of global issues. Internationalization of curriculum increases global networking of research and cultural linguistic diversity. Promoting interculturality in curriculum enhances cross-cultural understanding. And here also we can talk about problem-based learning and some pedagogies that the previous interventions talked about: intercultural pedagogy, multicultural education, the awareness of interculturality from all sides of the teaching and learning processes. Here I'm talking about teachers, professors, students, educators in general. So most of respondents agree and strongly agree that the implementation of internationalization in higher education is of great importance in the Moroccan context. However, I have here 3 questions as qualitative questions asking participants about their opinion on the implementation of internationalization and smart universities, and whether it is just a prestige or it is also a kind of threatening the local Moroccan culture. The 3 questions that frame the open-ended questions yielded that internationalization of higher education is very important. However, some respondents mentioned that it might lead to negative aspects related to culture and imperialism. In this framework, a respondent stated that the emphasis of internationalization would create a big gap between international and non-international education systems. Another respondent assumed that it attacks local culture almost negatively, especially for reserved communities. However, most of the respondents agreed that in Morocco, we need to internationalize not only the higher education, but we need to start from middle schools and why not primary schools. How much time do we have? 2 minutes. However, some respondents related it to political decisions. The second that guided the open-ended questions were mainly about smart universities, faculty prestige and empowerment, of marginalized communities to advocate effective social change, most respondents believe that smart universities, in line with the internationalization, will open many doors to enhance students' critical thinking skills, creativity, social change, high order thinking skills. And this is one answer by respondents. A smart university, if incorporated in marginalized universities, will only lead to their inclusion in this wave of universal and technological advancement. The main aim of the study was to examine the effectiveness of implementing internationalization in higher education and the use of English and English proficiency to boost employability and corporate culture of employers in companies' core ideology, and also to improve students' critical thinking skills. The results showed that the call and implementation of internationalization perspectives in Moroccan higher education have a great impact on society. It can reshape students' critical thinking skills, exclude social exclusion, and help marginalized communities which suffer from environmental problems, and kind of sharing these problems with universities worldwide to find use to these local problems and make them universal for one community, because nowadays we can no longer talk about local citizens, but international and global citizens. For the limitations of the research, the study employed 61 participants as a sample. However, a large size will be more effective to generalize the data. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving directly to my friend, my colleague, his paper is entitled "The Internationalization of Moroccan Higher Education, an Educational Hub or a Stage of a Longer Educational Journey for Sub-Saharan Mobile Students." Tarek is a doctoral student at the Mohammed bin Abdullah University, Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences, Darmstadt. He belongs to Culture, Représentation, Éducation, Didactique and Unit Formation Laboratory. There is a joint paper along with Dr. Abdelrahim Al. He is a professor of applied linguistics and leadership. He belongs to the Department of English, So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. As an introduction, given the increasing number of sub-Saharan mobile students in Moroccan higher education, there is a scarcity of research and studies that dealt with their journey in Morocco and investigate their academic experience, educational achievements, driving motives behind the choice to come to Morocco, and their future aspiration after finishing their studies here. Also, official statistics and reports about their enrollment are also hardly available. So the aim of the present study is to gain a deeper understanding of the ways internationalization of Moroccan higher education intersects with this growing intra-continental mobility of sub-Saharan students. In particular, the paper explores sub-Saharan mobile students' reasons behind the choice or the decision of studying in Morocco and their future plans after graduation. It also addresses the question about whether Moroccan higher education has become a favored educational destination for sub-Saharan students, or it's just the only available option or destination in the absence of better alternatives. So the present study seeks to answer the following questions. What are the driving motives behind sub-Saharan mobile student choice to study in Morocco? What are the attitudes and perceptions of sub-Saharan mobile students about their experience in Moroccan higher education and what are their future plans and aspirations after graduations. Because of the tight schedule and the time allotted to my presentation, I will not include some of the research questions in my presentation. So we move to the outline. First, we start with a snapshot of the higher education system in Morocco, and then we move to the internationalization of higher education in Morocco, vision at national level, and then we move to have a look at the inbound student mobility in Morocco, and then sub-Saharan students at Abdelmalek Said University, and this is the chosen population for the study. And then we will discuss the factors behind the choice to study in Morocco, and we'll end up the presentation by answering the question about their post-graduation plans. So to have a snapshot of higher education system in Morocco, so as you see, we have 12 public universities and only 3 private universities, and we have an increase in higher education institutions. So now in Morocco, we have over 160 private institutions. Number of students in higher education in general is over 1 million students, and most 92% of students belong to public universities. Only 3% of students are enrolled in private-public partnership or private universities. So private-public partnership, like example of Akhawain and other private universities. So to briefly talk about the attempts to internationalize Moroccan higher education, and I guess that my colleague Huda has talked about the strategic vision 2015-2030 in details. So it has got different objectives, and among those objectives are to facilitate the mobility of students at international level, ensure the mobility of Moroccan researchers to international level, call for familiarization with good practices, successful international experiences, and international standards. Develop also partnership and international cooperation, strengthen Morocco's position in the international system, and of course attract foreign providers and foreign partners like Erasmus and other. So for the inbound student mobility in Moroccan higher education, you can notice that there is kind of a massification of the number of students. So now in Morocco, we have got over 20,000 international students in Moroccan higher education. And among those 20,000, there are 13,088 sub-Saharan students. So the large majority of students, of international students in Morocco, are from sub-Saharan countries. Just some numbers about Abdelmalek Said University. So the creation was 1989. Number of students is over 120,000 students. International students, the number is 1,483. Those are official statistics, but for accessibility to data related to sub-Saharan students, I couldn't manage to have access to the data. So I based my statistics on CESAM. CESAM is the Confédération des étudiants, élèves et stagiaires africains étrangers au Maroc, section de Tanger. So the number of sub-Saharan students at Abdelmalek Said University is 649 students. So the distribution of those students by country of origin, and to my surprise, most of sub-Saharan students who came to Morocco are from French-speaking countries, mainly from West Africa. But in Tangier, it's an exception. So we have got Sao Tome and Principe students. They are the largest community there. And then we have Cote d'Ivoire, so there is no surprise about this. But we have Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Comor, Guinea, Mali, Niger. I included here in this graph only the countries with more than 20 students at iHED University. So the traditional case, like it is in Rabat, so most of students come from French-speaking countries, as I said, but in Tangier, we can find that the majority of students, if not the 50% of students, are from Spanish and Portuguese speaking countries. When asked about their chances to study abroad when they were back to their home country, when they got their baccalaureate degree, whether they have got other chances to study abroad, other available scholarships. Most or the vast majority of students, 88% of students, stated that no, I didn't have the chance to study abroad in a different country. Morocco was the only available option for me. Only 11% of sub-Saharan students at the University of iHED said that they had other options to study in different countries, but they opted for Morocco. Here we have an example of Usman from Mali. He said, Morocco wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to France or to Tunisia and even Canada. Those countries are easier to live in. When I got my baccalaureate degree due to my grade, I only had 3 options, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. I applied for the 3 scholarships. I selected Tunisia. So most of them, they prefer to go to Tunisia before coming to Morocco. So I selected Tunisia as my first choice, but I got accepted in Morocco. Alhamdulillah. I am satisfied with his choice, but Morocco wasn't his first choice. When investigating the factors behind the choice to study in Morocco for that minority, that's 11%, most of the respondents stated some factors, and they can be summarized in 4. The availability of scholarship provided by the l'Agence Marocaine de Coopération Internationale, and also the prestige or the experience of studying abroad. We have an example of Jeremy, a student from Equatorial Guinea, who stated that Moroccan scholarship was the only available scholarship at my school. I knew that I will find difficulties in studying French, but I wanted to try the experience of studying abroad. Now I'm still facing difficulties in understanding the professor when he lectures in French. It's important to mention that the students who came from non-French speaking countries, they are expected to go on a 1-year preparatory year. Other factor is the existing family, relatives, or friends. And also we have got the linguistic factor, and this is mainly can be applied to French-speaking countries. France is the ex-colonizer of Mali. We speak French at school. It's the official language. So we have here example of Siaka, who's a first-year Mali students. For their post-graduation plans, the majority of the respondents, 58%, consider pursuing their PhD studies in a different country, which may raise the question about whether Moroccan higher education is only a step on a longer migratory educational journey for sub-Saharan students. For their future aspirations, we have the majority of students stating that they will leave the country by the time they finish their studies. A significant number of respondents stated that I will definitely stay in Morocco if I find a job with a good salary. So for the others, they are undecided. So, as I said, more than half of the respondents, 56% of the respondents stated that they plan to leave Morocco by the time they obtain their degree. We have here a statement from Komi, a Togolese student. After obtaining my degree, I'll go to Europe. I'll go to France. I'll try to find a job and settle there. My studies will be done in Morocco, but for work, I must go to Europe for that. To be honest with you, we have another statement. To be honest with you, in my case, I will prefer to stay in Morocco if I find a very good job opportunity. In all cases, things are much better than here than there in their home country. So to summarize the discussion, so the results of the study show that the majority of sub-Saharan students had aspirations to study in different countries, and namely France. So France is still the most favored destination for sub-Saharan students. And recently, United States is taking number 2. Before, we used to have France as the first destination, South Africa, but now we have France and United States of America. The factors behind choosing Morocco is mainly due to scholarship availability and the absence or the absence or the highly competitiveness nature of other scholarships of the previously mentioned destinations like France, Tunisia to a less extent. Many sub-Saharan students believe that a degree obtained outside their home country is of a higher value, as it provides an edge over candidates with similar degree obtained in their home country. This is a statement made by Beatrice Khiyat, the General Director of Campus France. The finding of the study, as we have seen, also demonstrate that the majority of sub-Saharan students plan to leave Morocco by the time they finish their studies. Those findings are compatible with other works, such as Wissam's Bitari, in 2020, and Johara Varian, American researcher, in 2015. For instance, Varian's 2015 research entitled Sub-Saharan Students in Morocco, Determinants, Everyday Life, and Future Plans of a High-Skilled Migrant Group demonstrate that the students' migratory plans were only rarely restricted to their studies in Morocco. According to this study, 82% of students interviewed in 2006 said that they wanted to continue their studies in another country or even work there. So the most desirable destination among French-speaking speakers was France, which was mentioned by over half of the respondents of her studies. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.